Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to cover merchant statuses. The system handles the full life cycle of a merchant, from the onboarding, which we create a lead as we discussed in previous videos, all the way through closing the merchant, archiving them, and even in some use cases blocking the merchant altogether. Right on the homepage you can see the distribution between the number of merchants you currently have onboarded to the platform and how they're distributed between the different statuses. Statuses range from new, integration, processing, login only, closed, archive, blocked, and decline. If we go to accounts, merchants, and the list itself by default will default to processing mode, meaning live merchants already processing. Between those status, it's divided into two types of merchant, working in a payfuck model and a gateway only model, which we will discuss in a future video. If you look at the legend, we'll still see the same indication on the colors. If we go to filters and disable the filter by processing and click search, we'll see in the UI the full list of merchants on all the different statuses that we have. And then the indication will let you know which merchants you're looking for, etc. When we're searching for a name of a merchant, let's say for example, we'll search for HaCommerce. The autocomplete will show us the list of merchants and the different statuses. So we see we have HaCommerce in green, which is processing, and several other HaCommerces that opened up in new status. Be sure to choose the relevant merchant for you with the right status configured. Now, the day-to-day task of changing a merchant status is relatively simple. We can choose the merchant, in this case dev test, and straight on the summary tab we'll have a quick button to change the status of a merchant. And now we see the indication of the merchant, the status, and simply can switch between the different statuses. Now I want to take a minute to discuss about the different statuses and what do they mean. So, new status is when you set up a merchant for the first time, haven't configured all the details, haven't configured terminals, means this merchant is pretty much for negotiation purposes for you to add supporting documents and additional configuration. Once you feel the merchant is ready to start the integration process, you can switch them to integration mode, which will allow them to send test transactions with our test cards as they appear in the documentation. The merchants have completed the integration process, you've checked their transactions, and they're ready to go live, provided that they do have terminals configured on their configuration, as covered in the previous video. Then you can switch the merchant into processing mode, which will allow them to send transaction with the full card, with the live cards and details. Period of time has passed, the merchant has dropped processing and you decided you want to close them down, but still you have to allow them to send refunds and chargebacks. By switching them to login only, the merchant will be able to log into his back office and send refund requests, but won't be able to send new transactions to the system. Final step, after the period of time that you allow them to send refunds, you will close them down and the merchant won't be able to do any interaction with the system, not to log into the back office and not to send transaction refunds, chargebacks and such. After a longer period of time, you decide you don't want a merchant on your lists anymore, you can archive them strictly for not seeing them in your statistics. Now come to the last two statuses that we have, blocked. In case you found that one of the merchants is fraudulent and you want to prevent your back office staff to creating new merchants with details associated with other merchants on the platform, by switching a merchant into block mode, which means any details, billing address, name, emails, and phone numbers will be flagged, and every future attempt to create a merchant with those details will give an alert telling you that there is already the details set in another merchant which is blocked. Last but not least, those are the declines. You'll be working with several PSPs and several acquirers, and at some stage you won't be able to file accommodation to a merchant and finding them the relevant MID to process with. This doesn't mean you don't like the merchant, it doesn't mean it doesn't fit your risk appetite, it just means that the provider you chose to submit them to are not willing to work with them at this stage. So instead of closing them down, leaving them in new, you will mark them as declined. So that way, the moment you add a new PSP, a new acquirer, you'll be able to filter the list by the declined merchants and then pick them up again and resubmit them to the new provider, try to pick up lost merchants and some lost revenues. This was a quick introduction to the merchant statuses. To learn more, visit our channel to check out additional videos and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.